Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. And today, my friends, we're back with the Vampire Coast vs. Bretonnia showdown. It's going to be Count Noctilus coming in with the dreaded double Colossus and Queen Bess combo, facing off against Falcon, who's going to be using Rapunzel, Henry, and it looks like a life caster as well, because if you have those very valuable characters, you're certainly going to want to keep them alive. It's not like the Fey Enchantress, who of course can heal herself, as well as King Lewin, who does have that passive healing. Now, the double Colossus actually used to be banned in the previous rendition of Banner Rules, but I was playing a couple games with Falcon here, and in the newer version of the Banner Rules, the Vampire Coast is indeed allowed to bring the double Colossus. So very excited. It was one of my favorite combos to use way back in the day when they first came out. And here they are once again. So against Bretonnia, I think the Colossus is hands down one of the best picks. It's very good against the cavalry. So for example, if they're swarming you with cheap cavalry, expensive, it doesn't matter. They are going to be able to do a ton of damage. On top of that, okay, it's sniping characters. You can shoot at, their archers and infantry relatively effectively. I really do like the Colossus quite a bit. The rest of my army is going to be zombies, 2 bombers in the backfield to help clear out infantry, a gunnery white with extra powder, Noctilus on foot, 2 doggos just to cause disruption, chase down archers, that sort of thing, and Queen Bess. Now, we were in the lobby. I was here with Falcon, and he was laughing at Queen Bess, the pick here. But you know what? I think Queen Bess is pretty good against peasant archers and Bretonian infantry in general. So we'll see if the old Bessie will get the last laugh or if the Dark Lord will be cackling from his throne of skulls. So for the forces here of Bretonnia, it's going to be peasant mobs into the sunset backed up by double archer, triple trebuchet, and he does also have the defenders of Fleur-de-Lis. Does he have 2 of those? Oh, for a second I was like, did he bring 2 of the RORs? No, it's just the defenders and the Knights of the Lionhearted. Of course, the hero squad we talked about, and War Knights. So that's going to be it. Now, trebuchets can actually be quite devastating against Coast. In my experience, shooting cannons or cannon-type weapons into trebuchets, it doesn't seem to be terribly effective. For some reason, I find that the trebuchets just trade pretty well with you. But again, that's just anecdotal. I'm sure a lot of people have had different experiences. So the Colossus are going to be moving up. I wasn't too worried about the trebuchets shooting into the Colossus here. I was like, worst case scenario, I just can invo them, and I feel like the damage output they have would be kind of negligible, and their accuracy also not the best. Although the Colossus does take a shot there. It looks like he takes he took like 100 damage or like 90 damage or something like that. So not too bad. I am doing a little bit of juking. You can see back and forth here, trying to dodge the shots. But honestly, with how random trebuchets are, it doesn't really matter too much, I don't think. Now, although, you know what? I have seen games. There was a faction where we had a while back in which we did indeed have the Colossus, or not Colossus, but there was an Empire steam tank, and it got like blasted by trebuchets the whole game, and it was like the funniest thing ever. And eventually the steam tank was taken out by the trebuchets. So Colossus is going to be shooting downtown, going after the defenders of Fleur-de-Lis right now. So they're going to be lining up their old cannon arms and getting ready to unleash into the defenders. 45 models down to 40, not the best shot in the world, down to 35, a little bit more effective. Taking out 10 models of 45 is certainly no joke. There also are some cav on the other side. I thought about shooting into the trebuchets, but I felt like it wouldn't be the most cost-effective thing in the world. Like, what I felt would happen is, and look at Queen Bess, just a huge, hot, steaming payload on those men-at-arms. Brutal stuff. Negative 28 leadership for a second. Looks like they just barely stabilize, but yeah, Bess is great. A lot of Bretonian players, at least in my experience in this matchup, tend to bring a shit ton of peasant bowmen. I'm talking like 4 or 5 or 6, like as many as the rules will allow. So that's why I really like Bessie quite a bit. So here my Colossus have taken a little bit of damage. I'm going to be forced back, and in response, I will be sending up the Scurvy Dogs and maybe charging right up the middle. Another Bess shot. No, they stacked on top of each other for just a moment. And those peasant bowmen as well as the men-at-arms both get just slam jammed and broken there. So that felt pretty good for sure. Now, Scurvy Dogs trying to find a little bit of an opening here, but Falcon, of course, has really good micro. He pulls back the Knights of the Realm. He's very privy to my sneaky doggo tactics here, so I will be forced to retreat. While the trebuchets, I think, are shooting into my bombers, looks like they're trying to wear down my anti-infantry, so maybe he can swarm my army a little bit more effectively. In the meantime, Colossus getting charged by the Knights Errant. I will be getting in position to actually just kind of blast them in the face. I do not have my Colossus on auto fire. I have them on manual fire, so they're not going to be shooting as they march. Just because I know ammunition conservation here is going to be rather important, considering I only have 1 gunnery white, and with Queen Bess, and both Colossus units being very hungry for that, I figured it would be a little bit of an issue. So 1 doggo unit, I tried to slip past the Knights of the Realm. My angle was a little bit poor, but for the most part, we lose a couple doggos, but I do get past them. Basically, I'm trying to pull some of his expensive knights away from this main engagement because things are about to get kind of ugly here as the Knights of Bretonnia slam into the zombies. But Count Noctilus is here, and hopefully he'll be able to put up a fight, while the bombers also get hammered from the flank. A very, very solid tactic. So the idea here is, of course, point-blank Queen Bess shots. Oh, here it comes! Right in the face of the defenders of Fleur-de-Lis, doing quite a bit of damage. And Noctilus being swarmed a little bit by Rapunzel and Henry. Very scary for sure. I mean, they could potentially kill him, so I certainly got to respect that. And basically just using my dogs Scurvy dogs are actually excellent at clearing out peasant units, so if you can use them just to chase down peasant chaff, it's a pretty good feeling. And both Colossus are well supported. They have zombies at their feet. They're getting terror routes on the Bretonnian Knights, and I have them in guard mode, just manually shooting here. You can see a big shot going to be going down the pipe here in a second. Potentially, I think I changed targets there. But here you can see Count Noctilus with his halberd doing quite well against Rapunz, but Rapunz also giving him the business. Rapunz going to give it to you, and, you know, I'm certainly taking some damage with these Sword of Lioness going down. Certainly not fun at all. Now, in the backfield, Scurvy dogs were eventually caught. I had a little bit of a lapse in micro there, which was unfortunate. Probably should have just used them to help here in the backfield. However, it did take away a Knight of the Lionhearted from the main fight, which certainly was very, very nice. And both Colossus are doing quite well. We do trap up the Bretonnian characters, but not before they get the hard knock life down to a very low amount of HP. It was at like 40%, so that was a very, very dicey situation. But the Colossus here, just going to keep wearing down all the Knights. I figure that if I get rid of the Knights, I can then deal with the characters just by blobbing and tar pitting them. And here, the dogs are being very, very useful for just chasing down Knights Errant. And, you know, units that are very tattered, because that can happen in the late game against Coast. Sometimes you can get swarmed by rallying units in the fourth quarter of the game, once your very low tier zombie infantry kind of bite the bullet. So back in combat here, Rapunz is just trapped, and Rapunz as well as Henry don't really have the best mass on their mounts. Granted, they do have the Guardian buff coming in from Henry, and, you know, Rapunz herself does have a fair amount of tankiness with good armor, very high melee defense, physical resist, magic resist, all that sort of good stuff you can see on her right there. Look at that! The Dweller's Blow coming in, going to be peeling off the zombies. That is a cool play for sure. Knights of the Lionhearted trying to get in here, going after the bombers, but getting point blank blasted by those Colossus as they do lance in here and go after the gunnery mobs. And now they are going to be piling into the Colossus, but it won't be that much damage, honestly. With both these Colossus here, they should be able to stomp their way through them and get a terror route, because I don't think the Knights of the Lionhearted are actually ITP. They are not, and the bombers actually get a nice little volley right there as well. Now, Queen Bessie's almost out of ammo. She's been shooting pretty happily. The Bretonnia, of course, still has a little bit of a posse of rallying forces coming in. And my Scurvy dogs here still doing great work, occupying the attention and micro of my opponent, and they are going to be diving here on the field trebuchets. We'll see if they can get in there and butter some bread. Hopefully they will. And 1 and a 2 and a 3, but the Knights of the Realm will be able to easily dispatch them, so I'll have to be very careful to keep moving and just kind of keep my opponent busy. Both Colossus being hunted pretty heavily by the Bretonnian hero squad. You can see the all-hands abandoned ship, I think is what it's called on the Colossus. I can't quite remember. Does go off here. And the other Colossus just kind of sitting point blank and just blasting into this hero blob. And that's great for me because they're just so tightly packed that, you know there's going to be collateral damage, right? Even if I miss my initial target, I'm likely to hit something else. So the other Colossus does escape. The peasants of Bretonnia very hungry, hungry for anything, even wooden planks and rotting Colossus, whatever the hell else is going on here. But it looks like they're ready to go and they're hungry, so they're going to be coming after this Colossus. While Queen Bessie was turning around and shooting the Knights of the Lionhearted, we continue to put our characters in guard mode and keep shooting down at the hero squad of Bretonnia, which is very scary, and it's keeping them in the game. Balance power is a little bit in my favor, but it certainly could come down to whether his heroes can get the job done. But the fact that Henry is breaking here does give us a pretty nice little advantage on the balance of power. My doggos in the backfield were able to finish off the peasant bowmen archers, but are now just running from the Knights of the Realm. But it's still occupying, an expensive unit with a very cheap unit, which is always very cost effective. And now you can see Bretonnia is in a bit of a mass exodus here as we continue to hail the mighty here, and Henry Le Massif going to be turning tail and running as Rapunz valiantly charges into the mighty Colossus and should be able to get some good damage with the Sword of Lioness, so she really does pack some punch. Value accrued so far is 2,100, so Rapunz has more than paid for herself, and I find that whenever I play against Felcon, he finds a way to make Rapunz work. I mean, look at that, 2,300, probably going to be approaching 25, if not 26 before this game's over. She's actually pretty decent at killing Noctilus. She does have that bonus for his infantry, crazy armor piercing, and obscenely high melee attack, so she pretty much has all the tools she needs to get through a character like Noctilus, which is normally very tough to kill. Now, the zombie pirate deckhand mobs do pop out right here, which is going to give me some buffering against Rapunz. I do have the opportunity to get away, but I decide to stay because I want Count Noctilus to come in with his big halberd while Rapunz is a little bit trapped up and get some damage in there, because he won't probably win in a straight-up duel, but now that she's a little bit tattered and beat up, I do have the opportunity to seize the day. So both Colossus going to be turning their big cannons onto old Rapunz here. Gunnery White giving that extra powder while Queen Bessie continues to drop hot steaming payloads on the Bretonnian peasants. And Rapunz does get blasted right in the face, down to 705 on HP, negative 136. That is going to be GG. So well played to Felcon. It was a fun one for sure. We were both kind of messing around with some cool ideas. And we talked about it after the game. He was mentioning that, and I agreed with him, and we were both kind of sharing the sentiment that the field trebuchet should have just been shooting Queen Bess. He was trying to kill the bombers, my infantry, but, I'm pretty sure triple trebs would have killed Queen Bess, which, it got 1700 value. It killed quite a bit of infantry, and oftentimes Coast loses by losing all its infantry and then just getting its monsters swarmed. That's very, very common, so I think that would have been a little bit better for sure, but overall, decent from the Scurvy Dogs. One of them kind of got caught and shut down, but they were decent little distraction doggos. And the double Colossus is very strong, of course, 1623. One thing that I think could obviously be stronger is, like, for example, if you find a way, I mean, he was obviously having some fun here with Rapunzel and Henry, but they ended up doing pretty good. Henry, not so much, but Rapunzel went apeshit that game and really was probably better than maybe the Fey Enchantress would have been here. But like more peasant archers, right? Because if the trebuchets can kill Queen Bess and the bombers, then the peasant archers have free range to just annihilate my Colossus. Then it all comes down to my dog micro, and it becomes very stressful. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed that Vampire Coast versus Chevaliers game. We'll be back with more replay soon. You guys take care of yourselves, and we'll see you on the other side. That's it for now.